Hello. Nice to see you all. So, some of you, I assume, remember me from, was it like last? No, it was 14 days ago. Is that right? It was, no, 12 days ago.
So, yeah,
12 days ago. Over a week. Over a week. It feels like longer. Yeah, it's good to be here. It's good to be with you. My name, if you don't remember it, is Kiran. I work in Ipswich. I'm a minister over on Triangle Estate in Ipswich. I love it there, and a lot of my music comes out of the way I pray for the people that I work with. So, if you were at the opening ceremony and you heard the songs that I sang, performed there, then some of that, came out of working in Ipswich and praying for the people that I was serving there on the estates. So I worked on two estates in Ipswich so far. One on the other side of IP3, Gainsborough and Greenwich, and then another one, Triangle, where I'm currently working. And I'm gonna share some stuff with you today. I've got more songs. Max asked for 7 or 8, which is more than I've ever been permitted to perform before, which is like, that's quite cool for me actually. So we'll see how my voice holds up. But so the way it's going to go is I'll share some pieces, and then we'll have some time to chat. Basically, if you've got questions about what you're doing here, Max, if you want to pitch in on that, and we can kind of double hand some of that as well, since Max knows this place better than I do. I'm here to serve the church here and be a blessing to this church. That's the vibe. So we can talk and have a chat about, like anti-violence stuff, or other things that come out of the music, other things you have on my mind, things you're curious about me. If you want, that's fine. And then we'll do some more music and do that kind of again. Probably do that like twice. And depending on how much questions you ask and how long I spend talking, we'll probably have about an hour here-ish, thereabouts. So that's how it'll go. I have my trust in one of you with me. I'll try and make sure I have the sound levels right, because I'm not going to use a microphone. We'll just feel that out. The first 3 pieces that I'm going to perform are from an EP that I'm going to release fairly soon on my YouTube channel, as soon as I get the album artwork done. And it's called the DV EP. Now, some of you may know what DV stands for. Some of you might have an idea if you work in the public sector, or if you worked in the civic sector for any length of time, you probably know. DV stands for domestic violence. And the reason that I'm gonna share these particular songs is because you never really know the full story of why a person does what they does when they do it. You often have to look a long while back to figure out what a person's motivations might be, what might be going on in their head, and what their story really is. And it's easy to not look at that and just look at the end point. And these songs aren't my story, it's a made-up story, but the journey is similar to a journey that I've been on. It's not a million miles away from my story. These things didn't happen to me. The things that I talk about didn't happen to me. They don't refer to people or events in my life, but they do refer to things that I felt that come from the environment that I did grow up in. And it's about, the songs are about, and they tell a story, so try and see if you can pick through the story that is told through the 3 songs. I'm going to perform them back to back, and they'll tell their own story as we listen to it. And they're about how, growing up in a difficult environment can affect your mental state. And also, really, they're about what it takes and can take, or does take, to exit that very unhealthy space and be in a different kind of space. Now, for me, that journey involved Jesus, because you can see how I'm dressed. Of course it involved Jesus. Other people have different stories, but this is mine. So that's kind of that's the first bit. So this first piece is called Hiding. Can you all hear me over the beat? Yeah? Alright? Okay. Yeah. I'm hiding under the stairs, hiding out in my head, hiding under my hair, powder the mask, powder the stairs, my skin's just dark. Drift my way through a class, playback reel of the past few days, it's leaving a mark, it's getting hard to think, why am I sinking, I have permission, it's a condition, memory hazy, personal fishing, if I dissociate, it looks like there's less on my plate, what makes someone that violent, so full of hate? What makes someone that violent, so full of hate? I need a break. When I grow up, they're at it again. I don't want to be friends. I just want to cut this guy off with the legs. That's a bad thought. Right lines in my head on the porch. It helps me put this. So I'm just gonna need to start that again. I'm gonna need to start that again. Sorry, friends. Let's go again. There is some language in this song which I forgot to say about. I apologize for young ears. Okay? Hiding under the stairs, hiding out in my head, hiding under my hair, powder the mask, powder the stairs, my skin's just dark. Drift my way through a class, playback reel of the past few days, it's leaving a mark, it's getting hard to think, why am I sinking, I have permission, it's a condition, memory hazy, personal vision, if I dissociate, it looks like there's less on my plate, what makes someone that violent, so full of hate, right? What makes someone that violent, so full of hate? I need a break. When I grow up, they're at it again, I don't want to be friends, I just want to cut this guy off with the legs. That's a bad thought. Right lines in my head on the porch, yeah, helps me cold, don't worry, sir. I just clocked the shelf because he told my mum to go fuck herself. Yeah. It sounds like I'm not well adjusted. In fact, it's just I'm adjusting, nursing a cold in the pit of my stomach. I'ma bring this bad man to justice, but it eats me alive. Take it out on these liars around me, call me paranoid. I'm not paranoid, maybe I'm paranoid. I just got a lot going on, put my demons on roids, write a song. Hush, he's home, don't speak too loud. I'm gonna speak out loud. I thought I could speak, but I just kept my silence. It occurs when I hide, it occurs to me I could ask for help, but I'm not unwell, right? I'm not unwell. I'm not unwell. No. I'm not unwell. That's a funny story, you know. So listen, I saw a guy the other day, he looked kind of rough, I didn't want to say, but something made me ask how he was and he just started crying. He looked embarrassed, I found a friend, we both managed to get him to talk about what was on his mind. It was kind of raw. There was only so much we could do. We said we could help him find some help if he wanted to. He just shrugged and said, I guess. You seem pretty angry, I don't know why. Not at me, just like at the sky, I mean, fair enough. But it's got to go somewhere, right? Yeah. It's got to go somewhere. It's got to go somewhere, right? I mean, he was so angry. It's got to go somewhere. There's no shame in asking for help. Yeah, there's never shame in asking for help. It'd be a shame if you destroyed yourself. That'd be a shame. This piece is called Moving Home. So listen. I used to think that there was no escape, and so I'd close my eyes and then I'd try to pray, but when I closed my eyes, the only thing they would play was, I'd rather not say. Even after I left, I was bereft and the walls remained. I suppose it's a silly thing to say, but when I tried to bury myself, guess what? All I did was bury myself. It didn't help. Look, it was normal. I was running from the splinters. It's understandable. I was splintered. The impact of a bad match lit a flame. It burned down my home. I was feeling it for years, like a rattle in my bones. Door slams made me jump. That's the bang of a hearth with a devil on the throne, but I wasn't alone. Look, I wasn't alone. I wasn't alone. I got to hide in the screen, hide in my pieces, started painting. That's a no-win. I was fooling myself. I hurt because I hurt myself. It wasn't fair. We didn't fare well. I wasn't really there. I was back then. That was back when I tried to crawl out a hole with somebody else's skin. I got some flint on my scars. The more that I hardened, the more I was breaking apart. Around then, I started asking myself what kind of game I would play with the hand of the dealt. Around then, a friend of a friend introduced me to a family who held a handful of safety. It was a different kind of house. The lady at the front, she spoke with clout and made me listen. I was giving her an earful. She spoke about a God who would put me out on the walls of his prison. Got my attention. It got my attention. Yeah, this piece is called Moving Mountains. Yeah, this is how it's done, right? Look, have you ever moved a mountain? Dig to the roots, pull out my nails for the proof to produce understanding. It's a whole other language. Like you suffer from PTSD because you still feel his presence. I guess that line's still a mess despite my confessions. Yeah. Look, I know I wasn't promised it to be fine. Take the bread and the wine, it's fine. You got my head wet with the beats in my head, refuse to stay silent. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Why can't I leave this behind? Look, all I wanted was a magic fix, like a hand wave. My God says and I'm lost in the course of God. And I'm shot short by a course of suicidal thought. I let it run its course and it fades. It means that I'm finding it harder and harder to pray. Why can't I wish this away? I told my vicar and I recommended therapy. Honestly, it terrified me because if I talk, I have to face up what the bad man brought. 13 in a fight on my own front porch, going down with a guy who was twice my size. Big man left marks when he won his prize. Yeah. And the outside healed with the marks inside. So why still fight those fights over and over again? I feel right, but it never feels right. And I know it's a bit of a spiral. But I had to man up. So I talked and I cried and I talked and I tried. I made some stuff and I cried. My friends invested the time, helping me toe that line. All of my family prayed, I screamed in spades. And then one day that mountain drifted away. Like, somewhat like a ball and chain, so when it went, I was floating away. Scars remaining, but the toxin fades. And I don't think I thought I would see that day. That's why I believe you can find your way. The view from the other side's worth the wait. I've got my own kids now in a house. I'm not very rich, I don't have clout. I sought that peace, my daughter's love puts me at ease. I don't need to please these masters I've been free from. Listen, that's the meaning of freedom. Yeah. I got space to breathe in and the walls around me never caving. Even when I wobble and I'm short of breath, I took myself outside for a walk instead. It clears my mind. Sometimes I remember but the power of the thoughts is less than I remember. Not when they're done, but I know I'm being mended. That's time plus friends and breaks extended, equaling something like a rebuilding inside of me. Survivor with the marks on my heart and the meaning's changing. The story they tell is rearranging. Yeah. That's a sign of the growth that I've been craving. Look, I don't know what your story is,
Living, you're not like me, never taking hits, but the fact remains that the trauma stains when the watchdog felt the effect is the same. Now I see a bit clearer, the healing is nearer. What's your mountain and what would it take to defeat it? Yeah. What's yours? What's yours? What kind of story would it take to beat it?
Yeah, so you can probably tell not all of that was very easy for me to perform, but I'm glad I did. I hope it was an interesting experience to hear that story. If you've got questions, I'm happy to answer them, and I guess Max can step in if he wants to at any time as well. Yeah, mate.
What inspired you to be a man of the cloth?
Yeah. So it's funny, you know. I mean, I became a Christian actually because I was going out with someone who went to church. Legit, that's the reason. That's why I started going to church, because I wanted to prove a point. I did. I thought Christians were really stupid. 100% I did. I thought you were all idiots. And, and here I am, being an idiot. Yeah, but I did. That's how I started going to church. But I think probably the thing that inspired me actually to do this was that, like, after I did become a Christian and I went through a whole journey of like being on the periphery of the church community and then like experiencing what it was like to worship with them, to sing with them particularly, because it was like what's called like a charismatic church. It was a very lively church. It was an Anglican church, but a very lively, particularly lively form of worship, singing worship, that is. And that hit me in a very particular way, in ways I didn't really understand. So that's what drew me into then kind of engaging with like study groups and hanging out with the people that this person I was going out with was hanging out with. And then I did go on a journey where I felt like I wanted to be a Christian. And then as I journeyed through my Christian life, I kept meeting people who were just exceptional role models to me. Like the first one was probably the associate minister of the place where I became a Christian. And like the thing that got me about, actually no, even before then, there was this dude, before I became a Christian, who would just sit and listen to me rag on Christians in his Bible study. Like absolute legend. One of my favorite people. I'm not in contact with him now, but he was just probably one of the most patient people I'd met up to that point in my life. And he just like rolled with the fact that I was being really obnoxious. All the time, like consistently obnoxious. That was horrible. And I was being really contentious and just saying that what he was saying was stupid. And he would just be patient with me and then move the conversation on. Like it was like, and he just like, he didn't kick me out. He didn't say you're disrupting. He just let me be there. And I think that was partly because I think he could see like something that I needed. He knew that what I needed was patience and grace and love. Yeah, that was a peer, like someone who was just a few years older than me. He was like in sixth form when I was just coming into GCSEs, which is when I became a Christian, like when I was 15-ish. And then again, yeah, there was a minister at that church, and then successive families, people that I've met who have just shown me what it means to be like a good human. And actually, like, partly because of like the environment that I grew up with, like I didn't always understand what it looked like to be in a healthy house. Didn't always understand. I didn't always know what that looked like, and so I learned that actually from some of the Christian families that I encountered. So yeah. I think it's like, as with anything, actually, you find it with footballers and like artists and all sorts of people. Like you look at people who you think are really cool and do what you're doing really well, and you want to copy them. you know, and that's kind of, you know, it's the same actually for ministers. it is the same. You know, you have to be in the wheelhouse of like, yes, wanting to kind of follow Jesus already, like that does help. But then, yeah, it's the good examples of the people who are around you, and patience. Patience is a very great gift. You know, people who are willing to see what they don't know, because no one ever asked me what my story was. They just knew that there was stuff that needed patience to give God space to sort it out. So, yeah, patience probably.
I suppose that when they're saying the patience of the saint comes into it.
Too right, man. I've known a lot of saints. I have, and I'm privileged to still know some. So it's a blessing to work with. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, man. Anything else? Anyone else curious about?
Do you find your music as a release?
As a release? Yeah, so if you go on my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Kiran Lotay, and there's a picture of me dressed like roughly like this, because there are two. There's a personal one which has a little bit of stuff on it, but not a lot, and then my work one which has all of my kind of portfolio, I guess, on it, all of my released stuff. I made a decision not to try and make money off of my music because the church supports me, so it's a gift to whoever wants to listen to it. It's a gift from the church to whoever wants to listen to it. So for that reason, it's probably only ever going to be on places like Bandcamp and YouTube and SoundCloud because you don't have to pay for those hosting sites. Yeah, well, like for the foreseeable future. At the moment, it's only on YouTube. So look at the YouTube channel, and that's where you'll find the stuff I currently have released. So there's an EP on there and a mixtape at the moment, and I have just got funding to record an album. So that will be forthcoming, maybe by Christmas if I'm lucky.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't answer my question. Did you find it a release?
Oh, a release! Wow, that was a fantastic mishearing. Entirely undeliberate to plug all of my socials. Yeah, no, I actually did mishear you. I'm sorry. Yes, that is exactly why I write. I write to find release. Yeah, definitely. Like lots of artists do. And yeah, I'm no different in the sense that, I mean, my release comes from like prayer and performance. So yeah, the stuff I'm writing about is usually not easy stuff, because it's the stuff that causes me pain or anguish that I bring to God, and then stuff happens and then I write about it. That's kind of my creative process. Not everyone does that. Like some people just write stuff because it's funny, and that's awesome. Like it's really good and fun to have that kind of art. My art is a particular shape. So yeah, and yeah, definitely it's very much for that. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, right. Go. Nah, man, that's cool.
You want to ask any questions?
That's good.
Apart from being part of the church, and obviously life experiences, what's your main inspiration behind the music? I mean, like I don't know, particular musicians or. Yeah.
Okay. Influences. Let me tell you, man. All right. So I grew up. Well, I discovered rap music like late in the day. Like when I was a teenager, before I was a Christian, I listened to like a lot of metal music, like a lot of new metal music. So I was listening to stuff like Slipknot, Linkin Park, Papa Roach, like old school new metal stuff, which was like not good. Like I mean, it was fantastic music, but they wrote about sad things in a way that kind of stuck you there. Not always Linkin Park. Linkin Park were actually pretty awesome, but yeah, stuff like Slipknot and Papa Roach. They wrote out their anguish and didn't really go anywhere with it. That would be my view of the way they wrote. Other people might disagree, so if there are any metalheads watching, I'm really sorry. But yeah, I started off listening to that, and so I mean, like a lot of that was characterized as like rap metal in the early 2000s. And so I was familiar with that kind of style of speaking and over music. I listened to a lot of POD. I've been listening to POD since probably about 2001, and I'm still listening to POD because they're amazing. And they have a lot of different kind of influences on their music, from reggae to punk to heavy metal to hip hop. And I like how eclectic their mix is, and I like hybridizing stuff. But then, like, I discovered Christian rap in like 2012 through a dude called Propaganda. He's an American artist, he's an activist, his name's Jason Petty, he wrote a book and different bits. Probably one of the best spoken word poets I have ever encountered, and I've listened to like a few, not a lot, but a few. And like writes really excellent hip hop music. And he does wordplay in a way that really inspired me. That was really what did it. He did like narrative storytelling over really cool beats with really excellent wordplay. And one of the things that I really love is playing with sounds. And you'll hear it in some of my other music. Less so in the ones I've just done, because they're kind of more raw in a lot of ways, but particularly actually in one of the ones I performed at the opening ceremony that I'm going to do again for you if you want me to, Innocence. Like, watch out for assonance, because I absolutely love stacking syllables. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's one of my favorite things to do in art, in my music. I'll stack sounds on top of each other because I just think it sounds cool. And so yeah, there is a playfulness in like messing around with words and meanings and fiddling about with that kind of stuff. And it's one of the reasons that I do, like I've done workshops in some schools in Ipswich, specifically with English departments in my local high school, Ipswich Academy, thinking about how to do that and teaching about kind of how wordplay can work and how creative you can be with that. So it's a particular style of rap actually that I'm into and that I write in. So Propaganda, primary influence, and then like there are a few really excellent Christian grime artists that I absolutely love. So one of them is Melvillous. Melvillous is a G, and he is like really fantastic. Names Bliss is another one, and then Still Shady is another one who is like more like he started off as more of a drill artist, and he used to be a gangster, so he was like running drugs and stuff wherever he was, and he like has a story about how he no longer does that, and how faith was a part of that, and he writes about it. He does a lot of work that is not unlike what I do, but he does it in London, and he's not a minister. So he's a legend. Really cool dude. He's just released a new album called Glorious News, which I've been listening to on repeat because I like it. And then like who else? I think like you have to respect people like Getz and people. But yeah, I think probably of like the old school grime rappers, Getz is my favorite. Just because his delivery is really crisp and his wordplay is like hard to match.
Definitely.
Like the way that he just like don't mess with him.
Doesn't always talk about the most positive things.
Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, actually, someone who I discovered recently is a guy called Bashi.
He's really good.
He's released an album called Being Poor is Expensive, which is like, I think culturally, like that's a cultural moment in a piece of in an album. I'd recommend everyone looks it up and listens to it because it's really interesting. Yeah, so that's probably everything I can think of like off the cuff. There are more. There are more. Yeah. Yeah, mate.
So obviously you found your favourite quite a young age.
Yeah.
And now being older, you found a way to turn prayer into something more relevant. Which is great for attracting obviously a lot of people of a young age who may be in trouble, maybe need some help, maybe stuck in a certain place of the world is very harsh on children's mental health nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would your advice be to young people looking to follow a new or better path, whether that be with God or just being able to have the confidence like you have, to find something you love and be proud of it and put it out there and still be relevant? Yeah, so I mean, if it's like this is kind of, it touches on what I would do with some of the people who I was doing workshops with in Ipswich Academy.
one of the things that I would say to them is if you're wanting to write about stuff to help you kind of process it, it's a really good idea to find something that fills you with hope and then use that to process the thing that you're sad about. Because that's what I do. Like, is what I do. Now, like, for my part, I have not found anything better or more powerful than the gospel of Jesus Christ that is capable of coping with all of my rubbish. But, you know, there are lots and lots of people who do write in a variety of ways about a variety of things and process their experiences that are difficult through the lens of being able to be hopeful. And you've got to find somewhere to anchor your hope. That's kind of what I would say. You've got to find somewhere that really kind of fills you with life and gives you hope. And that's where you can then have the stability to be able to process some of those other things. Because if you're constantly living in an unstable space, it would be very difficult to process the things that are making you unstable. So like, that's partly about finding like a healthy community and healthy connections and people who actually care about you, who are not necessarily there to patronize you, but who just literally want your well-being and are willing to listen to you and hear you and let you be yourself, but also kind of tell you when you're hurting yourself, like, and being willing to kind of do the things that are to seek your good together with you, rather than like on your behalf or for you. Find those people, because actually, when I was chatting about those people who inspired me, that's what they did to me. That's what they did for me, because I definitely did not have to end up in this space where I am now. I did not. It took a lot of investment, a lot of people, a lot of care, a lot of patience, and like a lot of prayer and a lot of God being actually invested into my life by people who took the time to care for me, to see who I was. And even if they didn't understand everything that was going on, like behind the way I was behaving or how I responded emotionally to certain things, like when I was being prayed for, they just permitted me to be and to be in a safe space. And that stuff sort of began to work itself out as I was there. So I think, like, particularly also for adults who are doing this, it's really tempting to want to have a solution and be in control, and it just never works. So don't try. like it's really tempting to want to be able to fix a young person's problems, but that's not what they need. They need the space to figure it out. They need a safe space where they're supported in working towards a solution. Because their agency matters, their choice matters. And I know you all know that, but like also adults suck at actually acting like that's true. Because we're not young people anymore, and it's hard to put your brain back 20 years. It's just hard. Like, young people understand it's hard. Like, we can't de-age our neurology. It's just difficult. It's difficult. So you know, lots of patience in all directions is always helpful when dealing with that kind of thing, but very, very specifically, it's got to be grounded in a hope that is strong enough to outstrip whatever it is that is causing you that kind of ailment or kind of binding that makes you feel trapped. Like that hope has to be powerful, which is one of the reasons that I've found my answer in the Christian story and in the Christian church, because it's not just about me and my hopes, it's about a story that is a lot bigger than me, and that story holds me when I can't really hold myself. So, yeah, find something like that. I'm sure Max would love to say hi to you on a Sunday morning.
Always welcome.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, thank you. Is there anything else anyone wants to chat about or ask? Yeah.
First of all, apologies for being a little bit late.
Mate, it's all good.
But we are here.
Yeah.
You talked about your journey from believing that Christianity were idiots.
Yeah.
Obviously, right to the other end, stay away you are now.
Yeah.
Was there a particular moment where 1 minute they were idiots and then they were, or was it very gradual?
It was very gradual. So I'll tell you the story. So for me, the church that I kind of was the church that I was kind of on the periphery of. As I said before, they had this very kind of almost like Pentecostal style of worship in Anglican church, part of the charismatic movement within the Anglican church. And that meant just like music, band, lots of singing, but actually also particularly there was an expectation that whilst singing was happening, God was present and it was possible to experience God's love. So when I was there and visiting, I didn't believe that. I didn't really know what was happening. I just knew that I liked singing, so I joined in because I liked singing. But the thing is, even though I thought the vicar was literally spouting stuff out of his backside, I didn't want to not come back. I remember specifically after the first time I went there, I kept shredding this guy's sermon, but I wanted to go back. And the reason I wanted to go back was because something happened to me when they were singing. I didn't understand it. And it was like there was something at war in me. Now, like from where I am now, I understand that in terms of the sort of spiritual narrative, where there were kind of forces inside me that really hated Christians and the gospel, and I was also being attracted by the love of God. There are other ways to narrate that experience, but yeah, that's how I understand it now. And what happened was over a period of time, I kept going and like being contentious in a Bible study was kind of part of this process. I was experiencing all this kind of like patience and people being really, really gracious to me, even though I really wasn't very kind to them. And then the person that I was going out with got baptized. And it was a tradition in the church where you would kind of talk about your story and why you were being baptized. And it was a whole thing. It was sort of part of the ritual in churches like that. And so when this person was speaking about why they were being baptized, it brought that internal conflict in me to a head. And I was really distressed because there was something inside me that loathed the fact that she was getting baptized. And it kind of scared me, actually. The strength of the feeling scared me because there was a violence to it that I didn't like. Yeah, a significant part of my story is a journey away from violence. But yeah, there was a violence to that feeling that I really didn't like. And I remember talking to that minister, the associate minister of the church, after this person was baptized and just being incredibly distressed and not knowing what to do. And he prayed for me, he prayed with me. At least I'm pretty sure he did, because he's that kind of guy. And I wanted him to, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I was feeling. And then a little while after that, like nothing happened immediately. A little while after that, I was talking to another person who I knew who was an atheist. And they said to me, like, and I was ragging on Christians, and they just said to me, like, you can't persecute Christians for what they believe. It's not fair. And then suddenly I was like, oh, you're right. Like you're just right. Yeah, you're right. That's it. And it was like whatever that thing was that was like pulling me in the other direction had just sort of gone. And it was after that moment when I realized it had gone that I realized that I wanted to be a Christian, because the attraction was still there, but the resistance was gone. So the attraction to kind of the love of God, I'd say, it was still there, but the resistance was gone. And so I decided that I wanted to be a Christian, and I didn't really know how to do that, but I said I wanted to. So that was like a milestone on that journey. Yeah. Legit though, I do think some Christians could be wiser still. I will say that. I will say that. But like, you know, everyone has opinions. The trick is how you talk about it. That's the trick. That's the trick. Yeah. Patience and grace. Yeah. Is there anything else that you need to ask? Okay. Any people like under the age of 30 who want to ask something? I can see you. I know you're there. It's cool if you want to hide still. Don't worry, I'm not going to embarrass you. But if you're curious about anything, you can ask. Or you can ask me later, because this is embarrassing. You don't want to do it. That's fine. Don't worry. I'll be about later, so we can chat then if you want to. All right. So I'm going to do another 2 songs. So we're at 4:45 because we spent lots of time talking, which is awesome. Now I'm just wondering, I've got 4 songs that I could do. 2 of them I did at the opening ceremony, and 2 of them are ones that you might not have heard if you were at the opening ceremony. I will let you, the audience, decide whether you would like all of them or just the new ones. What would you like? All of them.
If you want to.
Yeah, of course I can. I'm good with that. I'll have to do them in two blocks though, otherwise my voice is 100% going to come out. Okay, so yeah, these are the two ones that I did at the opening ceremony. This is Innocence and Burden. Yeah. Innocence, rest in peace. Yeah. R.I.P. Innocence, rest in peace. R.I.P. Listen. They tell me the streets don't love, they're only good for shells and blood. But I saw a man's face like a painting, treasure like Roman, pain in the waiting. Anguish playing on a beat, it's a plague on a leash. Is that all that you see? Is that all that you see? I saw a woman leave like a diamond free, just despite the face of her time. And see the bright light at the side, the slide to the side, to rely to survival priceless. I took a breath and found words to speak. I can't speak for the least, but I speak what I see. Technicolor out the mud still plays the feet on the mountain. See, you're a king and a queen. Well, it's hard to believe. Because your innocence finds it hard to breathe with a bullet on the neck or a shank in the back. You're more than a victim, I'm more than you know that fact. I don't know all about you, but I see your beauty. Streets don't love you, the love on the streets ain't fleeting. Let the heart speak, let the eyes meet, let the mouth teach, let the soul preach, let the mind reach for the skies and the splits and the eyes of the Lord come rest on the person who forfeits vengeance. That's where innocence rests. Yeah, that's where innocence rests. Yeah. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Innocence, rest in peace. Alright. Yeah. R.I.P. to the paradise lost when your sis got shot on the roadman's on. Saw a whole drop on her eyelid shot. Yeah. R.I.P. to the peace when the streets put pain to a piece. The promise of release is a lie, the beast is a trap. You're not right in a cage, but maybe you're weak and you're feeling strong. Cause you've been chained by your rage and you know that it's wrong. But the stage that you're at, you're thinking that there's no escape, but you're wrong. The hope isn't gone. Your hope isn't gone. Yeah. All I can do is offer the grace I see. I've seen it heal disease. I've seen it bring me freedom. You deserve more than a leash or the tear of a bullet release. But I don't know these streets. Yeah, all I can do is offer the grace I see. I've seen it heal disease. I've seen it bring me freedom. You deserve more than a leash or the tear of a bullet release. But I don't know these streets, I just see you, right? Here I am, just a weak man, fool enough to think his words could stand like a light in the dark. And maybe that spark might turn to a flame like a dream. That shame I see is the flame up beats with hope. That shame yet healing broken things, that desperate crying on my knees. Help man grow some wings, fly out the fire. Plunder them fools who set up the pyre. When man will punish sweet, that's the fire. That's just dessert for puffing their pride up. Babylon down, bring me the flame, shout on the wall. Bring in the rain, I kneel myself down and I wait in the silence. These hands were made for violence. Yeah. My hands were made for violence. Yeah. Listen. I have a burden in me. I have a yearning in me. I have a burning in me. I
got that learning in me. Draw it, that's curtains for me. Cut me, I'll beat it straight from the veins and the heart that beats with the pain of 1,000 rhymes. Will pump it straight on the floor. This is an anthem of my longing and a warning. Yeah, young G's, listen. Look. I know what it's like when you've been discarded. That blast was heartless, puff, snort, smoke it away, but the lasting listless passes, and the past is never really past tense. Walk with the bot, but you grip that knife real tight to your nuts, go white like a face that you never should have seen in the more. I don't want to bury you, dog. I don't want to take your funeral outside making numerals. I don't want to see you waste your mind on grind for man. Don't really care if you live or you die. Your life is more than a joke, or a wise crack, or a footnote. Love is more than a hoax. Trust is more than a cloak. Buried deep in the burden lies impossible hope. Empty crave and empty grave. Keep your grave empty till your aged garden full of years. Did you know God holds your tears? Did you know God bears your fears? Crucible, he formed that way he held. Might crush your throat, but he gave his life. Give you scope for freedom. Healing, known by a friend who can't be stolen. By stray shots or dark ops, or man who gives you a chance and a toss. I know what it's like when you're long for your last breath. Gang signs and bloodlines don't make lifelines. Ties might blind you, rob you, bind you. Kindness passes by, tear in a ride, no end in sight. If you end this life, will it end your life in a chalk outline? If I spit this rhyme, will it change a damn thing? I'm a beat in the air when I'm casting my cares. Do you hear? Are you there? This war hasn't got any sides, and the cost ain't fair. This war hasn't got any sides, and the cost ain't fair. But listen, I know a man who brings back life from the dead. Time rolls up for souls left inert in the dirt, perforated with a hole in the chest. Blood flows back to the wounds at the end of the day. The end of the days of the world, the grave will give up the pearls of those lost through no remorse. The curse of a violent end amongst violent friends is reversed by a king who once left for dead, now reigns in the heavenly court. The course of the cosmos rests on his word. No recourse or reprieve for the judgment decreed. Relief for the innocent under his wings, but blood on that man with blood on his hands, not washed in the blood of that innocent lamb. Just let me recover for a second. I'm definitely going to need another one of these, bro.
We can do that. Thank you very much. Does anyone have anything else they wanted to ask while I'm letting my voice just rest for a minute? It's okay if you don't.
How do you get all the words out?
I spend hours practicing.
Wow.
It's what I mean, like I said, so I am the kind of person who has a kind of brain that can do things obsessively over and over and over again. So I do that with my music. So I'll just be practicing. If I've got something that I'm about to perform, I'll practice it like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, however many times. And then I'll let it sink in for a while, and then I'll come back to it. And like my brain's been working on it. Like it's weird. I find that there's probably some part of my brain that is never not thinking about like that never stops thinking about like music and creating and stuff, because I can't stop writing either. Like once I finished, like it took me about 1.5 to 2 years to write the album that I'm about to record, because a lot of it was like internally meaty. Like, and it took me a while to process all of the stuff. But then, like, as soon as that was finished, I just started creating again. I can't stop. Some people have breaks like that. And so the part of my brain that does that is also the part of my brain that goes obsessively over the songs in my head. So I'm probably like practicing lyrics to, in fact, I am. Like now that I pay attention to it, actually, I am, at this moment, I am practicing the next song somewhere in the back of my head. Like, it's pretty like, I don't really notice it, because it just kind of happens in the back. But again, like, different people have different brains. This is how mine works, I think. Yeah, it's a lot, and it's partly also muscle memory. So like when you're speaking very fast, you can't do it if you're having to process looking at the word, thinking it, and then speaking it. It has to go straight from somewhere in your muscle memory out your mouth.
Absolutely. I suppose you've got to learn the music as well to be able to have the flow to go with the music.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, actually. So for me, I have to write to a piece of music if I'm going to be clever with rhythm and cadence and syncopation and different bits. Otherwise, I just fall into like very familiar patterns. If I write without music, I'll fall into a very specific rhythm very, very quickly. Probably because it matches the cadence of my voice, but I think like rhythmically. So I need like a structure to dance around when I'm writing. So I have to have that melodic structure or that beat structure first in order to be able to then kind of weave the words around it. So right. So this next one's got a little bit of a different vibe. It's from those last two songs that I just performed are both from the album that I'm going to be recording soon. So they'll be up on my YouTube hopefully before Christmas. Depends on how everything goes, because like I do this not in my spare time, but as part of a job which involves other things. like all the other stuff that I do when I'm wearing this. This is an important part of what I do when I'm wearing this. Let's be clear. So this is a piece. This is a piece called Resurrection Talk, and in a lot of ways, it's about the story that gives me hope. You know, I was saying about anchoring yourself in a hopeful, something that gives you a lot of hope. This is about the way that the gospel, the Christian story, gives me hope in the way that like I've observed and felt God behaving towards me. Like this is the ground of like where my healing comes from when I talk about healing. So yeah, that's what this song is about. Yeah. Let me talk. Yeah. It's a resurrection talk. I live life as though defined by an absurdity, the impossible possible mystery hanging from a tree, raised alive. Can't believe your eyes, but I might believe the side in his hands, the marks in his plan, like it answers as much as it confuses. You capture me with beauty. Do you really love me enough to conquer the grave? God raises his arm to deliver, like what your worth is written where I'm written. Gasp like a breath after breathing your last, like a sunrise on the horizon. The sea made of glass where the past is left back in the past. No gasp for the grasping, lagging back to the dark. Leave behind the rumination, taking ease from my mind. Get help for the battle with the sad red lines. Life, long, long life, forever held in his eyes. The risen Lord of my life, the tender mercy of Christ. Here I stand, anastasis in my status. That's the word, tell my matter, but it matters. Love my body is not proper for your property. I was redeemed by another, so I had to leave. With the lover of my soul, now covered in the shelter of his wings. Where I live is in the struggle at the in-between and freedom, but I trace over my scars every now and then. Stigma with the martyr on my palms, did I win? It's a tussle for a blessing with a bloody nose. Leaving with a limp is just a mark that I've been chosen. I was in the gutter, but I grew up like a rose, like a lotus in the rubbish, tended by a tender soul. The Son of Man, the Prince of the planets, in perfect plan of the Father to give an answer to anguish. Suffered, then he died, calling every tribe. Listen, Jesus is alive, Jesus is alive. Jesus is alive, and he took a crowd. Hear the crowd crying, crucify, when they took him down. Lay his life down, take it up again. Power take the sting out of death that we ought to win. Bought the sin, born like a curse on the tree, getting cursed by the free and the happy, buying freedom for the trapped and the dapper with their soul in the gutter snag, snoring lines, praying for a sign before they hit the crime. Rhyming reason season with the preaching, in and out of season. Love brother, even if he slapped my face for teaching, love for others, compulsory for enemies. Heavenly wisdom is tender mercy for people you scare, you fear, will ensnare you. Rather, filling up with kindness to overflow from the iris to just hands for the righteous, like his jubilee. Free and get slaves, celebrating over broke, chains broke, penniless, poor beggar with a rich name. Royalty,
all surpassing loyalty, citizens of heaven where the perfect law is liberty, over the horizon all embracing kindness, in the love of God is where eternal life is.
Okay, I'm gonna need another break. Because apparently I can't control myself. Genuinely can't. All right.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely, mate.
How do you, well, you've talked a lot about prayer.
Yeah.
So, do you have to be a Christian to pray?
I mean, no.
And if you're not,
Yeah.
even if you are,
Yeah.
because how do you get about it?
Right. Well, I mean, the simplest definition of prayer is talking to God. Before I was a Christian, when I wanted to be a Christian but didn't know how, I would talk to the big man upstairs. That's what I said. Literally, I would just do that on my way to school. Because that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to talk to God. I didn't really understand anything of the Christian story. I didn't really have Christian language to kind of understand my experiences or anything like that. I just wanted to talk to God because I kind of wanted to be close to God. And I think, you know, like for me now, I would say like doing that is really important. It also has its limits, but it's really important. Because actually, like if you come to God as yourself. Like there's not really any other way to come to God. And I have been in churches that kind of maybe sometimes try and teach people to come to God as something other than themselves, and it doesn't really work that well. And you know, it can be a difficult conversation to have because, you know, like these things get contentious. But like bottom line is like if God made you, there really isn't anything to hide. Like you know, including like, you know, there are people who put on religious masks to try and hide themselves and hide the things that they are and all that kind of stuff. But it's just like, well, I mean, you're not really fooling God, even if you are fooling other people. And like, it might pay to fool other people for a bit, but like God's the one who you're going to spend eternity with. So like, honesty is probably a good idea. Just because if you're going to cultivate a relationship with God, you're better off being honest about it now rather than having to kind of do a really serious turnaround when you die. Like, you know, like because like, you know, everyone's going to have to kind of deal with all the things that they hide and all that kind of stuff. But I think yeah, like it's being able to reach out and say, God, I want to talk to you. And yeah, like actually, church is a place where you can do that. 100%. Church is a place where you can do that. Other places where you can do that too. I do it like at the beach often. And you know, people often find that being in solitude in places of nature where you're just listening and you can't really hear anything except the lack of people, that can be like a special place where people feel like they might be close to God. But actually also, for me, being able to hear and understand what God might want to say to me also matters. That's what a lot of that song is about. And yeah, like again, for me, like the way that I do that is like I take my Bible into my prayer time and I talk honestly to God and then I listen. Part of the listening happens when I'm reading, part of the listening happens when I'm just being still, part of the listening happens when I listen to my audio Bible, which I listen to all the time, because that's what helps me. There's a really cool audio Bible called Streetlights, which is kind of like this style of music, but it's the Bible. So yeah, and I use that a lot in my own like devotion. But
Sorry, what did you say?
it's called Streetlights. It's freely accessible. If you just look up Streetlight Bible on the internet, you'll find it. It's a group of guys from the States who are not unlike me. They're not ministers, but they've got that same kind of commitment to, you know, like following God, following Jesus, and being from where they're from. You know, which is like the streets of Chicago for them. And so yeah, they kind of read the Bible in spoken word style over hip hop tracks, and like it's most of the Bible now. They've been going for a long time. They've done most of the Bible. Which so I use that a lot when I'm listening and praying and just trying to kind of soak in stuff that is good for my mind.
So when you first decided to start doing your prayers and changing it into lyrics and what have you, did you do that and start listening to these Christian performance people?
So there was like a.
Or did you do it from working in the street which and think, I need to be a bit more relevant to get these people?
Yeah,
Was it more a you thing?
It came from the inside out first. So it was something, and that's why I think like if what I do is effective, that's why. Like I'm not doing it.
You're not doing
Like
it.
I'm really glad that it connects, and I'm really glad that it is like I've learned a language that can speak, but it is my language too. Like it's a language, and it is a language actually that is it's the language of where I'm from too, because I grew up in Northwest London next to a council estate, and I spent a good amount of time being babysat by one of the estate grannies, basically. So like, if you want to know where my manners come from, that's where they come from. Or my concept of manners, 100% comes from there. Because so I spent a lot of my very early years being looked after by a lady on the council estate next to us where I grew up. And so it is my language too, and it's taken like quite a bit of rediscovery and kind of figuring stuff out. But I think so I discovered the Christian hip hop stuff in like 2012, and I started training to be a minister in 2017, and I didn't start writing to rap until I started training to be a priest. So there was like a 5-year gap of just having this music as a thing that I listen to a lot. I listen to a lot of like Governor B, and a lot of propaganda, a band called Beautiful Eulogy, lots and lots of different Christian hip hop artists. And I found that they were rapping about stuff that was relevant to what it was like when I was growing up, where I grew up, even though I was bussed out to private school. But they were speaking about stuff that I was very familiar with because I grew up in like Northwest London, Harrow, Pinner, type of ways, and so like some of the stuff I was familiar with was very familiar in the music. It was something that became authentic for me before I started using it to say anything.
And how did you find that it came across when you first introduced it as a crossover with the church life?
Yeah, I mean, I was really well supported at the place where I trained actually. So it's a place called Ridley Hall. Shout out to Ridley Hall. Lovely. Like they had like art. They had like art weeks, like theology and art weeks every term. By the time that I finished there, so there were 3 opportunities a year to kind of present something. And so it became a regular part of how I was training to be a priest, actually, like to think about theology and art and developing that. And that was definitely probably the most positive thing that I experienced while I was training as a vicar, actually, was the opportunity to flourish in that. And I had some good colleagues who were like early cheerleaders of what I was doing, because I started off doing a lot of spoken word stuff, and I still do spoken word poetry. So that's kind of how it went. Yeah. All right. I just saw you look at the time, G. So
You take the time.
I'll do one more.
Can I interrupt this one? Because I want Kiran and I want his music to have the last word. But I'd also like to thank him for being here with us. So I'd like to do this now. Why is Kiran here? Well, we were sat round the dining table in the bishop's house, lots of people in black shoes and white collars, talking about how as a church we reach out to others. And I was talking to Kiran and telling him some of the stuff that I've been dealing with in Haverhill, telling him a little bit about Harley Barfield and his story and accompanying the family and why the Knife Angel was coming and what we were preparing for here in Haverhill. And Kiran has said, is there anything I can do to help? And I think from what Kiran said, the key word in that is I. Actually, who is this man who's offering to come and speak into this situation? who recognises that this is tough for a community to deal with. And we've got the Knife Angel here, we've got this opportunity to think carefully. And I've always said that this is a really positive opportunity. It reflects well on the community we've got here in Haverhill, that we are willing to do this, that we are willing to talk and to have these conversations and to address the issues that we all know are out there about violence and knife crime and youth culture, which are not everywhere. You know, it's not a huge problem for some of us, but we know it is out there, and we know that nationally it's growing, and it is something that we want to stand up against, and for me, want to bring to God in prayer to transform our community and our hearts for peace. So, Kiran said, is there anything I can do to help? He sent me some of his music, and I said, yes, actually, this would speak into our situation. So we've had, thank you for coming, and thank you for watching online, and thank you, Kiran, for enabling us to live stream it as well, so that others can share online. Harley's family are watching, and Darryl wants us to know that he's appreciative, and he knows Harley will be appreciative of all that we're doing here. And thank you for standing up and talking about these issues, which are so important to us. So thank you, Kiran.
Yeah, I feel like the last one that I'm going to do is actually very appropriate. The title of this last piece is one of the last tracks on the album that I'm hoping to release soon, and it's called "The Eternal Futility of Violence." Right? It's about how that kind of stuff is a dead end. It doesn't get you the things that it promises. It never will. Yeah. Listen. Man's just running in circles. Listen, look. Let me introduce you to my mental anguish. I love to serve people where they speak the language. Nurtured in the soil where they come up was hidden in the realm of diamond rings and gold bathtubs. My career direction is a downward spiral. That's the craft the cross demands to keep me vital. It's the pleasure of the Father giving love to the forgotten and His wisdom to the troublesome. Excluded from the classroom. Do I shut my mouth or do I spit for yards? Screaming, making slash, or beating on my dogs. Got a parish full of people playing pleasantries, the pockets full of poverty, put pressure on their aching knees. Buckle up before they buckle. If I baptize in the struggle, will it ease or build the muscle? Maybe both. Learn to speak a blessing when I'm looking at my foes. There's no them and us, it's just a weeds of who you for. People eye me funny when they realize my goal. Drive the trap out of my neighborhood, a realistic goal. Why leave the land when you can't see? Pioneer the pattern, that's a normally analogous to kingdom carriages. They carry me to where the standard is. A healing word for all the damages. The anger cancerous, a closed circle. Raging on a roundabout, it's just a war of burdens. Point your feet inside your mouth. Trip over the words, they won't come out. Strike a chord, kiss the floor. Just a lover with a broken heart. Shards of glass, sneaking through the plaster cast. The patriarchs and demagogues are supposed to be in demagogues. Demon in your mouth, mine. Run if I pluck your teeth out, that's mine. What if I push the peace up, gave the spirit holy water on the grave? If I can hear it raging fire, if I block it, even causing me to fear Him. Pause, take consideration of my course. If I charge over a cliff, what's my recourse? Can I pay the cost of all my flaws? Bloody knuckles really open doors. Look, bloody knuckles really open doors. Listen, I haven't got the time for any softly. I got siblings dying and this war is costly. If I give up roaring, I ain't a liar. Got the boiling in my blood because His love is higher. See, love would make a fuss.
I wanna agitate by kicking up the dust. Show you faces in the crowd who should be careful but they're crushed. I hope that we could work it out. Partners in the civic now. Hear the voices in the crowd, let them shake the system now. How much power would you part with? Would you leave with less than what you started with and call it just? Turn around and paint a better story with a finger touch. Image bearer, consecrated, equal learner, take your place. Imagine if you forced to shift the landscape. Imagine if a cross-shaped blessing was your mandate. Sacrificial loving in our politics to demonstrate.
Yeah, so as Max said, thank you for joining, thank you for watching, and if I was going to say anything to close, unless there are like any other questions or anything you want to talk about, I would say that you always have an option and get active. Like, that's how change happens. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for being so engaged. Really nice to see you. Really nice to see you.